You want a war? You're gonna get one.
Forget the lies, the money. We're in this together and through it all. They said nothing's forever, and they refuse to see the change in me. Why won't they wake up? Come on, come on, come on. Let's get it out. Move to the music, play that fucking music. Live through my music, yeah.
Soldiers of misfortune, welcome back to Reliving the War. It's the 24th of July 2000, Raw's in Austin, Texas, while Nitro takes place in Cleveland, Ohio. And what a pay-per-view the WWF just put on the night prior. Fully Loaded 2000 was great, I had a real fun time watching it, and I'm carrying my good mood into this week's Reliving the War, so please WCW, don't make me angry, please. This week's Jam Up guy is Brandon, and Brandon got a ton of photos at the Squared Circle Expo in Minneapolis. He made sure to send photos of guys who have been included in Reliving the War like Chavo Guerrero, Raven, Jerry Briscoe, WCW commish Ernest Miller, and of course His Excellency himself, Bret the Hitman Hart. Also, that pink Wrestling Bios logo shirt's one of my favourites. Good choice, Brandon, and thank you very much for representing the cause. A Jam Up guy indeed. One last thing before we begin, Wrestling Bios channel memberships are soon going to be available, meaning you can watch my videos early right here on YouTube. Patreon supporters still get access to the exclusive library, the music remixes and all the bonus stuff I've put together over the years. But for folks who just want to see my videos early, including Reliving the War, and for folks who prefer to stay here on YouTube without signing up to another service, then a channel membership might be the better option for you. I like to think of it as the convenient option, and another way folks can support the channel while still seeing stuff before everyone else. So have a look if you want to help me out. Right, here we go, Reliving the War episode 246. Let's get it done. Alright, Raw begins with a Mick Foley promo. On Nitro, we've got Lance Storm versus Big Vito for the Hardcore title and a Booker T promo. The Raw promo's a long one, so let's start off with some action this week on Nitro. Lance Storm has indeed changed the US heavyweight belt to the Canadian heavyweight belt, and he wants fans to stand up for the Canadian national anthem. I stood up for this, so you should too. Lance then says he wants to be serious for a moment, while this guy wearing a chicken on his head says shut up. You gotta pick your defense force very carefully, America. Lance says the fans are showing him a real lack of respect. The USA have no recognisable heroes anymore, and these people should really be cheering for Lance. All the wrestling greats are from Canada, and American fans shouldn't blame Canada, they should blame themselves. Lance is going to defend his Canadian Championship against Mike Awesome at New Blood Rising. The event just so happens to be taking place in Vancouver, but Lance wants a warm-up right now, so out comes Big Vito calling Lance a piece of shit. Lovely, just lovely. Storm wants a double title match. Vito says Lance's belt doesn't mean anything, but for some reason he still agrees to fight. And good luck Vito, because Lance kicks his ass and the Mamaluke takes a leg lariat from our new Canadian hero. Lance forgot he was in a hardcore match though, and hardcore legend Vito sets a trophy cone between Storm's legs before smacking it with a ball bat. It didn't look all that good, to be honest. Vito then tries to pull a table from underneath the ring, but the silly goose can't get a grip, so the match continues on with a superplex from Storm. Lance's hip toss counter was good, but so was Vito's follow-up suplex. Vito then pulls off his Impaler DDT finishing move, and Lance kicks out. So Vito tries to use a kendo stick to put Lance away, but it's no use. Lance Storm locks in the Canadian Maple Leaf, and there you go, new hardcore champion. No, new Canadian hardcore champion Lance Storm. Our boy's now collecting belts. He will give that title a new name soon, but let's pretend like we don't already know that, guys. I know you're busting to correct me in the comments, but let's play along for once. Booker T's out next to cut a promo. The World Champ thanks the fans for all their support, and he thanks the champions that came before him. But it's time to get down to some serious business, and Booker wants to talk about Jeff Jarrett, the, and I quote, chosen scum and #1 player hater. That's what I'm going to call Jeff from now on. Booker tells Jeff to save all his drama for his mama. Boog's going to take Jeff to school at New Blood Rising, but hold the phone, ladies and gents. Grab your phone and squeeze it tight, because here comes Billy Boy Goldberg. Goldberg says Booker stuck his nose in his business last week, so Bill wants to dance with Boog tonight in the ring. Bill wants a title shot, and Booker says, no problem, bozo. Ernest Miller comes out, he says Goldberg doesn't book matches, so he should hold his horses. He's got to squeeze that horse real tight. Because tonight the fans are going to vote on WCW.com to see who Booker's going to defend his title against on Nitro. Actual innovative stuff from WCW right here, and the WWF would go on to use this concept for full-blown pay-per-views. Keep in mind too that this isn't the first time WCW have let fans choose a Nitro match, but you also gotta question the integrity of it all. Miller tells Goldberg to get out of the ring. Goldberg tries to attack the commissioner, but Booker puts a stop to it. And security have to hold Booker back because Goldberg needed the help. After a commercial break, we see who fans can vote for, and look, Sting's on the list, ladies and gents. If Sting doesn't win this vote, then it's totally rigged. But tell me, if not Sting, who would you select from this list of WCW megastars? You may be wondering why the illustrious David Flair isn't on the list, and that's because he's in our next matchup. Amazingly, Nitro isn't annoying me yet, so good job WCW, 20 minutes of pain-free viewing. On Raw, Mick Foley says King Kurt Angle has demanded a rematch against The Undertaker. This is pretty nuts, seeing as Kurt was so afraid of The Undertaker last night at Fully Loaded, but Mick books the match and it's going to happen here, right here in Austin, Texas. Mick puts over the last man standing match from Fully Loaded, giving credit to both Chris Jericho and Triple H, and Foley also praises the WWF title match which he had to get involved in. Benoit and Shane McMahon then come out and Chris says he got screwed last night at the pay-per-view. Shane agrees, saying that the referee's decision has always been final no matter what in the WWF. And yeah, this is absolute caca because we can pull up multiple instances when this actually wasn't the case. Mick says yeah, up until last night referees' decisions were final, but things change. 10 or 15 years ago Shane McMahon was bopping to Vanilla Ice. 10 or 15 years ago Chris Benoit may have cracked a smile, but things move on. The only thing that hasn't changed is Shane's dad's hairdo. Mick's got jokes, ladies and gents. Benoit doesn't want to hear it. The Wolverine demands a title rematch against Rock tonight on Raw, and Mick says he'll take it under advisement, not what Benoit wanted to hear. Before Chris can beat the jokes out of Mick, Stephanie McMahon makes her way down to the ring, and she announces that not only did Triple H prove that he's that damn good at Fully Loaded, he also proved to Stephanie that he's that damn good multiple times when they got to their hotel room. You see, Hunter brought his Nintendo 64 to Dallas last night and he taught Stephanie a hard lesson at GoldenEye. Stephanie was in awe at his 6 skills on the bunker mop. Steph's here to back up her brother. The McMahon family made the rules. The referee's decision is final. So Steph also wants to see Benoit vs Rock tonight for the WWF title. Mick recalls recovering from a serious head injury last year, and for about 2 seconds he found Stephanie attractive, but he now agrees with Chris Jericho's assessment of Little Miss McMahon. Stephanie smacks Foley. Foley says he could fire Stephanie for putting her hands on the commish, but instead he books Stephanie and Shane in a match. The McMahon kids are going to face 2 opponents of Mick's choosing, and if Benoit or Triple H get involved, then Mick Foley will fire the whole lot of them. Ah yes, Steve Blackman defends his hardcore belt against Road Dogg next on Raw. On Nitro we've got Flair and Miss Hancock versus Major Guns and Lieutenant Loco. It's matchups like this I'm going to miss when this series ends. Absolute prime reliving the war right here. Billy Kidman's at the commentary table on Nitro. He says it's Tori's birthday and he's got a present for his ex-girlfriend, a VHS tape. No, that is not a copy of Ghostbusters 2, though that would have been pretty sweet. It's a dirty tape featuring Kidman and Tori doing dirty things, like doing the dishes. And he's going to show it to everyone later on. Hot stuff, ladies and gents. Miss Hancock and David are in the ring. Let's call this team Davy Cock. And out comes Lieutenant Loco and Major Guns. Let's call this team Guerrero and the Gazongas. David now wrestles in a suit, no idea why, but I guess Stacey wants her man to dress appropriately instead of wearing jobber shirts. And the commentators promote an upcoming boot camp match featuring Miss Hancock and Major Guns at New Blood Rising. Sorry, a boot camp mud pit rip off your clothes match. One of the most long-winded ways to say you're going to see some cleavage at the pay-per-view. And things aren't looking too good for Team Davy Cock when Guns performs a drop toe hold and Stacey gets up close and personal with David's wee nature boy. David takes Chavo out with a chair shot. He holds Major Guns in position for some sort of aerial attack, and okay, terrible work. And while David and Stacey argue, Major Guns scores a pinfall win. There seems to be some trouble in paradise, but this gets quickly forgotten about when Stacey rips off the Major's top. Guns tries to cover up because this is only appropriate when she rips off her own top. It's really embarrassing otherwise. Backstage, Ninja Sting says yes, it's really him under the mask, and when fans choose him for tonight's title match, he will beat Booker T for the World Championship. He also says that one way or another his ninja mask will come off tonight, but Bill Goldberg doesn't think so. Bill's confident that the fans are going to choose him, and if they choose someone else, well, the guy who wins the vote's going to get put in a body bag. Hardcore action over on the USA Network. Steve Blackman returns to Raw to defend his championship against Road Dogg. X-Pac says on commentary that he and Road Dogg are having a little competition between each other to see who the better singles wrestler is, but Road Dogg isn't showing us too much as Blackman destroys him in the ring. Blackman uses a chain wrapped around his fist. He innovates like no other while using a trash can lid. All of these great skills can become part of your repertoire if you join the dojo, and sign-ups are now open. Blackman lets Road Dogg get in a bit of offense because he has to, seeing as it's a work wrestling match. But then Road Dogg grabs a broomstick and Blackman took this personally. Steve grabs his weapon of choice, the deadly dangerous weapons of mass destruction known as the Eskrima sticks, and my god, dazzling offense right here from Steve Blackman. I can't even begin to comprehend what's going on, but I know Road Dogg's in a lot of trouble. Our match ends with Road Dogg hitting a DDT on a steel chair, and this was a big mistake because Blackman gets up and he performs the mud kick right into that chair and Road Dogg gets knocked out cold. A pinfall victory for Steve Blackman, balance has been restored, tariffs have been lifted, we have achieved world peace, and giant robot monsters have called a ceasefire. Thank you for your service, Mr. Steve Blackman. Triple H has just arrived at the arena and Steph tells her husband what happened in our opening promo. Triple H says Stephanie shouldn't have slapped Foley and he explains he's not in the mood for all this. He's also annoyed that more bouquets have been delivered to Stephanie, and yeah, those flowers don't last too long. Hunter knows it's someone trying to set him up again, but turns out Stephanie actually bought these delightful plants for her delightful husband. You gone goofed up, Hunter, you goofed up good. On Nitro, Jeff Jarrett's annoyed that Miller gave WCW fans a chance to vote for the #1 contender tonight, and Miller once again doesn't care for Jarrett being a big old crybaby. So he tells Jeff to pack his bags, grab his banjo, and get the hell out of his office. Jeff throws a hissy fit and he starts swinging his banjo like a spoiled little brat. So Miller says, okay, he will give Jeff a title shot tonight, a shot at the tag team titles against KroniK. Jeff gets mad, Miller threatens to suspend Jeff if he puts his hands on him again. So that match is happening next on Nitro while Stephanie and Shane face two mystery opponents on Raw. Double J, the crafty cat that he is, took out Brian Clark before making his way to the ring. You don't call him the #1 player hater for nothing. We saw the return of the Bryan Adams dodgy pile driver right here, and it's still pretty bad. I would have been pooping my pants taking this move. On the outside, the Chosen Scum went in control and he ended up performing a pile driver of his own, looked a bit more safe too. But back in the ring, Adams came back with a full Nelson slam and a big boot to the face. Eventually, Jarrett tried to use his guitar, and that's when Brian Clark showed up holding a broken guitar. Jeff gets wiped out and Double J takes the meltdown, and the boys decide they want to put Jeff through the announce table with the high times. Referee Slick Johnson tried to stop it, and Jeff managed to run away, and it's our match official who ends up getting put through the wood. The match was pretty fun honestly, but what's going to be more fun is seeing Rich Kid, Stephanie and Shane getting their asses kicked over on Raw. Their first opponent makes her entrance, it's Lita, and Shane talks a big game when he says he's going to unleash his sister on this helpless woman, and no matter who walks down the ramp, Shane's going to defend Stephanie because he's very proud to call himself a McMahon. Well, it's the Big Show. And as soon as Show begins making his way to the ring, Shane says, yeah, see you later sis, and he legs it. Stephanie's all alone with Lita. Lita really had her coming out party last night at Fully Loaded and the crowd absolutely adored her. So as you can imagine, the fans went nuts as she went to work on Steph. After a suplex, Lita went up for a moonsault, but Trish Stratus interfered. Trish stops the move, she then takes her weight belt off and Lita gets whipped like the proverbial government mule, and Stephanie's very happy to get this back up. Lita's back glows red once Trish gets done with her, but backstage the Big Show's gone hunting for Shane McMahon. Shane's ran off to the parking lot and he almost brains himself when trying to escape, and the Big Show's going to have to be a little faster if he wants to catch the Boy Wonder. Ernest Miller was having some trouble setting up his little thing, but he got interrupted by Vampiro. Vampiro wants to help Miller get payback on the great Muta, seeing as Muta spat green mist all over the cat on Thunder, but Miller says he'll take care of Muta all by himself. Vampiro shows Kat some karate skills, Miller loved it. So Vampiro gets his match and Miller says he's going to be the referee. Check it out, soldiers. Sting's in the lead with 35% of the fan vote. Looks like Sting's in-ring return's going to happen very soon on Nitro, but first we've got the Great Muta versus the not-so-great Vampiro, while on Raw it's the Godfather versus Bill Buchanan. So Stevie Richards comes out saying Raw will be one step closer to being cleansed after Big Bull takes out the Godfather. Don't care, mate. Can't forgive you for stopping a Steve Blackman match last week. It's time to say goodbye to the Godfather's pimpin', apparently. And as these two big boys went to work in the ring, a Save the Hose chant broke out in the arena, something that really annoyed Mr. Richards because he only went ahead and dished out a Stevie kick to Victoria. Victoria's still just an unnamed creature, by the way. Not only that, Stevie stopped the whole train by smacking Godfather with a chair, and this allowed Bill Buchanan to pull off his top rope leg drop. Disgusting behaviour right here that I don't condone, but it's another win for the group soon to be known as the Right to Censor. On Nitro, Vampiro and the ICP came out to teach the Great Muta a lesson, and when Muta went for the mist right away, Ernest Miller stepped in to stop him. What follows is a swerve, bro, as Vampiro kicks Miller from behind and the ICP join in on the beatdown. And when Kat starts fighting back, the Great Muta attacks the WCW Commissioner. We don't have a match here, folks. All we've got's the Great Muta joining the Dark Carnival for some insane reason. And Muta shows he's one of the boys by touching fingers with Vampiro. This is what real bros do, by the way. They finger touch. The Demon comes out and he tells the Carnival to back off, but oh, 2-for-1 swerve, bro. The Demon plants Miller with the love gun, and there you go. The full Dark Carnival stables arrived in WCW, but don't get too comfortable watching these guys. If I remember correctly, these guys break up in a month or two, maybe less. The cat gets a little revenge on Shaggy 2 Dope, by the way. I'm not sure why this was necessary. Booker T says the fans are calling the shots. Book's not ducking anybody tonight, but no matter who the champ has to face, the championship belt's coming home with Booker T. It's time to find out who WCW selected. It's time to find out who the fans selected to face Booker T right now. While on Raw, we've got Kurt Angle versus The Undertaker. So who's it gonna be? Who's facing Booker for the world title? It's the man called Sting, only the man called Sting gets beaten up by Goldberg during his entrance, and therefore he won't be competing in this match. Man, I wasted a whole 15 seconds voting on this thing, and this is how WCW repays me? You're going to screw fans over even during a vote? Man, this company. Goldberg makes good on his promise from earlier on. It looks like Sting will be leaving here in a body bag. Booker helps the EMTs while Goldberg grabs a mic, and Billy Boy says, to be the man, you gotta beat the man. Even though Booker's got the belt, Goldberg thinks that he himself is still the man, so Booker agrees to a fight and the bell rings. The fan vote did not matter even if it wasn't a work. Goldberg almost trips up when getting Irish whipped, but he performs a clothesline and this gets followed up with a gorilla press falling power slam. He's a strong lad, that Bill Goldberg. He's very intimidating. Hope he likes his smoky plushie. On the outside, Booker gets thrown into the ring steps before Billy Boy shares some choice words for fans in the front row.
What his plan was. It was a plot all along.
Class act as always. Booker T's been busted open, and when the action gets in the ring, Goldberg applies a cross arm breaker. After a long struggle, Booker makes it to the bottom rope, and Mickey J gives Billy a hard time after breaking the hold. The official then checks on Booker while Stevie Ray runs down to throw in the towel. That should be our match over. But Bill takes the towel and he rubs down his head in his sweaty pits before throwing it back at Stevie. Missed the opportunity to rub it on his nuts right here. The ref doesn't see Stevie throwing in the towel, but it doesn't matter. Ernest Miller comes down to announce that the match is now over. Goldberg is our match winner, but according to Ernest, Goldberg is not the champion, and that's because Booker didn't get pinned and he didn't give up. What in the fucking name of WCW is going on here, you may ask, and sorry, I don't have the answers. But Booker T is still the champion, and now WCW have a champion who just got his ass totally handed to him. Way to go, boys. After a commercial break, Booker tries to save it all by demanding another match against Goldberg tonight. Boog says if he doesn't get the match, he's walking out of the company, so Miller has no choice, and that means we will see Booker vs Goldberg Part 2 later tonight. The swerves keep coming over on Raw, ladies and gents. The WWF are just as guilty as WCW tonight. Kurt Angle gets in the ring and he's pretty sure people are wondering why he requested a match against The Undertaker tonight. Well, he explains that last night The Undertaker didn't beat him. Instead, The Undertaker beat a man who was living in fear. These people in Dallas know all about fear. Fear of the welfare check not coming, for example. Kurt was afraid last night, but he's feeling a lot better right now, and that's why he wants to face the American Badass. Out comes the denim shirt wearing Undertaker, the bell rings and Kurt backs off. He throws a punch that makes the Undertaker smile, and Jim Ross questions Kurt's logic tonight. Clearly, he's not ready to face the Undertaker. Inside the ring, it looks like it's already over after a chokeslam, but then we see Shane McMahon jumping the barrier while running away from the Big Show. Shane ends up in the ring where he gets punched in the head and then set up for a chokeslam, but Big Show wants to do the honours instead. Taker gives Shane up, the Big Show ends up letting go, and there it is. Big Show heel turn, folks, another one for the record books, and another swerve tonight on Reliving the War. Kurt, Shane and Big Show attack The Undertaker. This is why Kurt wanted to face the dead man, and it all ends with The Undertaker getting chokeslammed by the Big Show. The bad guys leave, EMTs come out to help Undertaker. Taker refuses help because he's a real man and real men don't need any help, but he probably should have went to hospital because backstage Undertaker gets jumped again. These three want to destroy Undertaker for good, so Shane breaks a Mario mystery block over Undertaker's knee just to make sure. So unlucky, Mr. Deadman, you were had tonight, my boy. A bit later on, Big Show and Shane leave while Kurt Angle stays behind to back up Chris Benoit. We'll come back to this in a moment. Chris Jericho's gonna cut a promo next on Raw while Buff Bagwell drags his mother to the ring on Nitro. Bagwell's supposed to fight Positively Kenyon tonight, but Chris doesn't show up. His music plays a few times, he doesn't appear, so Buff grabs a mic. He says the fans wanted to see Bagwell in action no matter what, and Judy grabs the microphone to say,
Chris, get your chicken shit ass down here right now!
The language on this woman is truly fucking shocking. Buff says Kenyon must be scared in the back, so the victory should go to Bagwell tonight. His music plays, Judy Bagwell gives her best Buff Bagwell impression, and I really wish she didn't. And then the cameraman sets down his camera and he attacks Buff. It's cameraman Kenyon, ladies and gents, and while his initial attack wasn't successful, his second attempt was much better. He gets back in the ring, Bagwell takes a Kenyon cutter, and Big Judy's now in a lot of trouble. Chris stalks Mrs. Bagwell back up the ramp. They go all the way to the backstage area and into the parking area. Kenyon throws Judy into the boot of his car and he drives off to potentially have his way with her. Moments later, Bagwell gives chase, but you're too late, Buff Daddy. You're way too late. On Raw, Jericho says the last man standing match at Fully Loaded was the best match of his career. He said Triple H brought him to the limit, and Hunter brought out a side of Y2J that the fans nor Chris had ever seen before. Jericho says while Triple H may have beat him last night, Chris also beat the crap out of Hunter at the pay-per-view. Jericho thinks Hunter may be doubting himself after last night's match. Maybe Triple H isn't the game after all. And Chris announces he's not done with Triple H just yet. Chris wants another match. He doesn't care what kind of match it is. He wants to fight Hunter tonight on Raw, and Hunter appears on the Titantron. Triple H says he's not the kind of guy to toot someone else's horn, but he says Jericho proved himself. Chris is a whole lot tougher than anyone thought, and he proved to Triple H that he's got guts, he's got heart, and he's got what it takes. Jericho, however, also proved that he's not in Triple H's league. Hunter beat Jericho within an inch of his life, and Hunter proved he's the game and he's that damn good. So, no match tonight, folks. Hunter has nothing to prove. So Jericho should grab his bags, head to his hotel room, and accept that Triple H is better than Y2J. Jericho doesn't accept this. He says he's going to go find Hunter backstage and get the fight underway. And yeah, he does this without hesitation. Officials break the two men up and it looks like this rivalry isn't over, though you kinda fear that Jericho could lose again if he gets a rematch with Hunter, and that'll do nothing to help his standing in the WWF. Looks like Y2J may be pushing his luck a bit. On Raw, we see that Kane has just arrived at the building. Would have been really handy if you were here 20 minutes ago, big lad. Scotty 2 Hotty and Taz had a match that Taz won clean as a whistle, which I'm actually really glad to see. Though after the bell, Rikishi came down when Taz wouldn't let go of the Taz mission. Rikishi had a great performance last night at Fully Loaded, but I do think Taz needed to leave Raw with the no-nonsense win under his belt. I think I'm just about to give up on him again, unfortunately. Corner hip attack and a Samoan drop. Taz gets out of the ring and that's how it ended. Earlier on, Shane Douglas wanted to know about this dirty videotape Kidman has, and Tori didn't say anything. Kidman says Tori thought the video was lost, but young William found it, and he says once again the video will get shown tonight. So we've got Shane Douglas versus Mike Awesome next on Nitro, while Raw presents a triple threat tag match, Dudley's versus Hardy's versus Edge and Christian. Shane wants to get this match over with, and he wants to get out of Cleveland before Kidman can show his dirty movie. And speaking of dirty, here comes Mike Awesome, the fat chick thriller. And I just remembered something. Mike always said that this and his subsequent gimmick were maybe punishments from Russo because he was related to Hulk Hogan. But Mike started thrilling fat chicks at Bash at the Beach. The timeline doesn't quite add up, especially for this gimmick right here. But yeah, can't really say the same about that 70s guy, Mike Awesome. Still, Mike was impressive here, springboarding from the corner for his back elbow and springboarding from the top to the outside. Some interference from Tori allowed Shane to get back into it, but Mike comes back with a big Alabama slam. And then, when Awesome goes for a superplex, Kidman's tape plays on the Turnertron. We don't see anything because it's all under the covers, meaning it's the worst muck tape in world history, but it's still enough to make Shane lose the match after getting smacked with a dumbbell. Yeah, I know, random. Shane runs to the back while Mike celebrates. Tori's way too thin for Mike Awesome, so he doesn't care about watching the filthy video. Lance Storm tries to attack Mike, but he gets planted with an Awesome bomb, and Shane heads to the back where he beats up a production guy for showing the video. Kidman comes back to the ring, he laughs about what just happened, and he says he's made enough copies of the video for everyone in the audience. We see the Young Dragons' reaction to the video, and I don't know what they're doing. And Kiwi was quite enamoured by the tape too. But Shane was able to get the video stopped, and Nitro moves on. A big old waste of time. On Raw, this triple threat match came about because Edge and Christian announced that disqualifications rule. The boys got DQ'd on purpose last night to retain their tag belts, so Mick booked them in a triple threat tag against the Dudleys and the Hardys. Whoever gets the pinfall leaves Raw as tag team champions. Kane then wrecked Mick's very expensive office while demanding a match against Angle, Shane and Big Show, and Mick says he'll come up with something that will please the Big Red Machine. Foley then goes out to give Kurt Angle the good news. Mick saw what Angle just did to The Undertaker, so he's putting Kurt and Chris Benoit in a tag team match against Kane and The Rock. Edge and Christian ended up winning their triple threat match, also completely clean. The fans in attendance loved this one, and it's no wonder the WWF kept booking these three teams against each other. Every time they got together in the ring, the fans went absolutely crazy. The Dudleys failed when trying to introduce a table to the match. While they were neutralised on the outside, Edge accidentally speared his own partner. This allowed Jeff to perform a Swanton bomb, but Bubba Ray made sure the Hardys didn't win the match. Back in the ring, Edge took a 3D, Matt Hardy broke Devon's cover with a leg drop, Christian throws Matt out of the ring, and Edge rolls on top of Devon for the 1-2-3. Good match here, loads of great energy from the crowd. One to put on your list is maybe a forgotten bout between these three teams. We have a tag team 4 corners caged heat match on Nitro, that's quite a lot. On Raw we've got Trish Stratus versus Lita in a strap match. Trish said beforehand that she should sue Mick Foley for booking this match, saying this is nothing but harassment from a commissioner who gets his jollies off watching women whip each other. And I sense that Vince McMahon himself wrote this line because he's a dirty old man who probably got his jollies off watching women whip each other. Anyway, this isn't a typical strap match. Basically, the women can use a belt, but they still gotta win via pinfall or submission. Lita strikes first, and as a matter of fact, Trish doesn't strike at all. It's basically Trish getting whipped for a minute or so before the referee gets whipped in the face accidentally. Still, this doesn't stop Lita from performing a twist of fate, and she then goes up for a moonsault. She lands the move, but there's no one there to count the pinfall, so Stephanie McMahon runs down and she immediately backs off when Lita squares up to her. Some shenanigans lead to Steph wiping Lita out with a title belt shot, the absolute worst belt shot I've ever seen in my whole entire time on this planet. And our match winner is Trish. She won a strap match without using a strap once. Okay, caged heat. The Perfect Event, the Misfits, the Filthy Animals, and the team of Jindrak and O'Hare. You gotta escape the cage through the door, and the last team inside the cage will not go to New Blood Rising for a shot at KroniK's tag team titles. Hoovy and Mysterio tried to hide away while the other teams went at it. Loads of senseless brawling in and around the cage, but the first team out was Jindrak and O'Hare. The Perfect Event then destroyed the Misfits, but Ray and Hoovy decided to get involved and the event lost their advantage. Still, and I found this kind of funny, they end up just saying, okay, we've had enough, and they just stroll out of the cage while no one tries to stop them. It's so stupid. The Perfect Event then locked the cage door, but wow, what a coincidence. Konnan brought some bolt cutters that he decides he's not going to use, even though the animals had the M.I.A. down on the mat. I'm so confused. The Hip Hop Inferno then shows up. Scott Hudson calls him Dim Shady, and he's on top of the cage and he's trying to kick a hole through the cage roof. The Animals then use a ladder in the ring and they could have won the match by escaping, but instead they perform high risk moves and this ends up costing them dearly. The General fights back, he then climbs to the cage roof where he fights with Disco Inferno. Mysterio joins the fight too while both Hoovy and Corporal Cajun tumble out of the cage, and the commentators admit to being totally lost right now and they have no idea who's won or what's going on. This time, I think it's easy enough to understand. The next person to hit the floor wins the match for their team. So the Corporal puts Hoovy on a table and he waits for erection to jump from the top. This unfortunately doesn't happen. And instead Konnan puts LaRue through the table while the General gets back in the ring. Mysterio tries to follow him, Ray ends up taking a falling powerbomb, and the General's able to escape through the cage door and win the match. Anytime you see a giant cage like this, you're kinda conditioned to expect something good. I do like WCW's cage heat structure a lot and it looks very imposing indeed, but I'm yet to see a good match take place inside of it. Kurt Angle's in a state of panic about this upcoming tag team match. Benoit says it's okay, Chris is going to take care of The Rock, all Kurt has to do is worry about Kane. Yeah, that doesn't help Angle at all. The Rock cut a backstage promo where he talked about paying the price last night and earning the right to call himself WWF Champion. And he says Benoit tried to take the easy way out by not earning the title. Chris and Shane tried to cheat their way to victory, but Chris and Shane are a pair of jabronis. That tag team match takes place right now in our Raw main event while Nitro presents Goldberg vs Booker T Part 2, Electric Boogaloo. Kurt's once again pooping his Olympic pants and he clearly wants no piece of the Undertaker's brother. So Rock and Benoit start us off and Rock wins the initial exchange. Benoit makes Rock pay with a few knife-edge chops in the corner. Rock's been getting well accustomed to these lately. And Benoit's done his homework because he blocks a spit punch, though he doesn't block a belly to belly. In comes Kurt Angle and he takes a clothesline right away. Rock's eager to tag in the big red machine and oh dear, payback Mr. Angle, payback. Kurt gets choked out, he tries to run away from the corner but Kane won't let him, and Angle gets knocked down again when trying to fight back. There's not a lot Angle can do here and he really needs to tag out, but Kane's flying through the air and Kurt struggles to make it to his corner. Luckily for Kurt, Benoit breaks a chokeslam attempt, and after some double team action, Kurt's able to bring Kane down with a leg lock. The crowd chant Rocky's name as Angle keeps the pressure on, and Kurt wisely tags out so Benoit can come in and take a big boot. Benoit gets back into it by continuing on where Angle left off. The heels want to do as much damage to Kane's knee as possible, and now we're going to see both Angle and Benoit do their best to cut the big man down. The break comes after an enziguri from Kane. Rock tags in and he turns the match into a slobber knocker. JR's words, not mine. Angle makes sure Rock can't hit the people's elbow after connecting with a spinebuster on Benoit, but Kane quickly takes Kurt out while Rock applies a crossface to the Wolverine. While the hold's locked in, Kurt runs up the ramp. Kane gives chase and he falls right into Angle's trap. The Big Show's here to launch an attack and he was supposed to drill Kane's head into the WWF.com sign above the entranceway, but he misses not once but twice. To be fair to Big Show, Kane didn't lift his head up either, but I'm sure Vincey Wincy wasn't happy about this backstage. I mean, Kane's not a small guy, so you kinda sympathise with Big Show a little. Shane tries to save Benoit. Rock ends up chasing the Boy Wonder all around the ring and up the ramp. Kurt Angle delivers a chair shot from behind, and that's how Raw ends, ladies and gents. Shane's team of evil bastards beat Rock up, and we'll see where this goes next week. On Nitro, during a commercial break, Goldberg put Stevie Ray through a window. Totally uncalled for, Billy Boy. Booker attacks Goldberg during the entrances. Goldberg made it personal, so Book wants to end this one very early. But don't settle in expecting a big match here because all hell breaks loose very early on. Goldberg gains the advantage outside the ring, though Booker delivers an axe kick when the challenger steps inside the ropes. Goldberg, the hard man that he is, shakes this off and Booker gets turned inside out with a clothesline. And when Booker goes for a crossbody, Goldberg catches him out for a front power slam. Jeff Jarrett then shows up and he hits Goldberg with a chair. This confuses the commentators and we can only put it down to Jarrett being jealous of Goldberg getting a title shot tonight or Jarrett wanting an easier match at New Blood Rising. Still, the cat comes out to rip into Goldberg after Jarrett took a spear and Billy Boy punches the cat out. Booker nails Billy Boy with a Harlem sidekick and a bookend. Booker T successfully pins Goldberg, only the third man to do this since Goldberg's debut on Nitro, and sore loser Billy Boy makes Booker pay with a spear followed by a jackhammer. Nitro ends with Goldberg taking out security goons while Booker's laid out on the mat. And you know what this show was completely missing this week? Yeah, Scotty Steiner. After the huge role he played last week in totally messing up the title picture, it's weird that he wasn't featured on this week's show. I actually like Nitro this week, but I've got the same old problem with the show's main event. The episode had a good format, it didn't have that Vince Russo one thing after another feeling, and I'm starting to look forward to things on Nitro again, such as Lance Storm's work. I didn't think much of the Raw main event either, but I did enjoy Steve Blackman winning clean. I enjoyed Kurt Angle continuing to be a slimy little scaredy cat. The triple threat tag was so much better than WCW's Caged Heat match, and it's good that the Jericho and Triple H feud's going to continue on. Raw wins Reliving the War. Nitro was decent, but Raw was better. And that means Raw now has 141 points, Nitro has 81, and we've got 23 ties on the board. In the TV ratings, the massacre continues. A 6.2 for Raw and a 2.8 for Nitro. Next week, Kiwi makes his Nitro in-ring debut against the Artist. Lance Storm tries to win another championship as he looks to put another maple leaf on a WCW belt. And finally, Sting makes his in-ring return to World Championship Wrestling. On Raw, Steve Blackman and Al Snow reunite to take on D-Generation X. Triple H has to make things right with his lovely wife after she caught him teaching Trish his sick wrestling moves. And Mick Foley looks to make life difficult for Shane McMahon's band of merry men. Thank you very, very much for watching, folks. I do appreciate it. If you want to see the next episode of Reliving the War early, check out the channel memberships or check out Patreon. Have a great weekend, and please take care.